Altha Vance had learned, over many years, how to live without pause. Her life moved in straight lines, meetings stacked on meetings, flights booked months ahead, conversations reduced to decisions and outcomes. Even rest had become a scheduled task, something to be managed instead of felt. That morning, the sky outside her bedroom window was still dark when she opened her eyes. The digital clock beside her bed read 5:12 a.m. She had not been dreaming. She rarely did anymore. Her mind stayed awake even when her body collapsed from exhaustion. She lay still for a moment, listening to the silence of the house. The walls were thick, the rooms large, but the silence always felt crowded. Somewhere downstairs, the refrigerator hummed. Beyond that, nothing. At 55, Altha was respected, feared, admired. She was the CEO of Vance Holdings, the company her father had built from nothing and left entirely in her hands after his sudden death. Under her leadership, it had grown larger, more profitable, more ruthless. Investors trusted her. Employees depended on her. The world knew her as a woman who never failed. But inside the house she shared with her mother, none of that mattered. She dressed quickly and moved downstairs, heels clicking softly against the polished floor. The kitchen lights were already on. Beatrice Vance sat at the table, wrapped in a cardigan, a cup of tea untouched in front of her. The television murmured in the background. "You're up early," Beatrice said without looking at her. "I never slept," Altha replied, opening the fridge. Beatrice sighed. "That's not something to be proud of." Altha poured herself coffee. Strong. Black. "I have a board call at 7. "At your age," Beatrice said gently, "you shouldn't still be doing this." Altha froze. The words were familiar. Too familiar. "You say that every day," she replied, her voice tight. "Because it's true." Altha turned to face her mother. "Do you know what's also true? That I didn't choose this life." Beatrice finally looked up. Her eyes, once sharp and commanding, had softened with age, but the authority was still there. "You chose responsibility." "I chose what you and Daddy wanted," Altha said. "There's a difference." Beatrice frowned. "We wanted security for you." "No," Altha snapped. "You wanted control." The room went quiet. The television continued speaking to no one. "You remember Julian?" Altha asked suddenly. Beatrice stiffened. "That was a long time ago." "He loved me," Altha said. "And you destroyed it." "He was unstable." "He was poor," Altha corrected. "And you were afraid." Beatrice stood slowly. "We saved you from a mistake." Altha laughed bitterly. "You saved me from happiness." Her voice cracked, surprising even herself. Years of restraint slipped free. "I missed my chance," she continued. "Every time I tried to choose differently, you reminded me of duty. Of expectations. Of the company. And then Daddy died, and suddenly there was no choice left at all." Beatrice's face hardened. "Don't blame us for your loneliness." "Then who should I blame?" Altha asked. "You took my future and called it love." The words hung heavy between them. Beatrice picked up her tea, her hand trembling slightly. "You're tired." "You don't mean this." "I mean every word," Altha said quietly. She grabbed her briefcase and left the kitchen without another glance. Upstairs, she closed her bedroom door and leaned against it, breathing hard, her chest aching with regret and anger tangled together. Downstairs, Beatrice remained at the table long after the tea had gone cold. 3 days later, the housekeeper called. "Mrs. Vance," the woman said, her voice shaking, "your mother didn't come down for breakfast. Her room is empty." Altha felt the ground tilt beneath her feet. "What do you mean empty?" "She's gone. No bag. No phone." Altha drove home at reckless speed. Beatrice's bed was made. Her medications untouched. Her purse still hanging by the door. Panic replaced anger. The police were polite but unconcerned. She may have gone to visit someone, the officer suggested. Older people sometimes need space. She has a heart condition, Altha insisted. She wouldn't leave like this. But days passed. No hospitals reported her. No friends had seen her. No credit cards were used. No phone calls made. On the third night, Altha sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the empty chair across from her, guilt pressing down on her chest like a weight. She hired a private investigator, Silas Grange, a quiet man with tired eyes and meticulous habits. He listened carefully, asked precise questions, and promised nothing. There are no signs of force, he said. But there's also no sign of preparation. That's unusual. What does that mean? Altha asked. It means she didn't plan to leave, he replied. Or she didn't plan to be gone long. The words haunted her. Despite everything, life demanded motion. An international merger loomed, months in the making. Delaying it would collapse the company. Hundreds of livelihoods hung in the balance. Leaving felt wrong. Staying felt useless. At the airport, Altha rushed through the parking lot, suitcase rattling behind her, phone pressed to her ear as she ended yet another call with the investigator. No updates, he said. But I'm still looking. She hung up, her throat tight, and nearly collided with a woman sitting on a low concrete barrier near the terminal entrance. The woman looked up, startled. She was young, her coat thin, her face pale with exhaustion. In her arms, a baby slept fitfully, cheeks flushed from the cold. I'm sorry, Altha said automatically, then stopped. Something about the woman's eyes held her there. Fear. Pride. Desperation barely held together. Are you waiting for someone? Altha asked. The woman shook her head. No. Do you have somewhere to go? A pause. Then, barely audible, no. Altha hesitated. This wasn't her problem. She had a flight to catch. A company to save. A missing mother. And yet. She reached into her bag and pulled out her spare keys. I have a lake house, she said. It's empty. You can stay there. The woman stared at her, stunned. Why would you do that? Altha swallowed. Because I hoped someone would do the same for my mother if she needed it. Tears welled in the woman's eyes. My name is Sienna, she whispered. And this is Leo. Altha nodded, pressed the keys into her hand, and walked away before doubt could stop her. The negotiations dragged on. What was meant to be a 3-month trip became 6. Altha worked, slept, repeated. At night, she dreamed of unanswered phones and empty rooms. Her mother was never found. When she finally returned home, success felt hollow. The house was exactly as she'd left it. Too quiet. Too empty. One afternoon, on impulse, she drove to the lake house. She hadn't thought about it since the airport. She didn't even know if the woman had stayed. As the road curved toward the property, she noticed smoke rising from the chimney. Her heart skipped. The yard was neat. The porch swept clean. Light glowed warmly through the windows. Someone lived here. She stepped out of the car slowly, her breath shallow, and froze. On the porch, wrapped in a blanket, sat Beatrice Vance. Older. Thinner. Alive. Beside her stood Sienna, holding Leo, who giggled softly. Altha dropped her keys. Mama, she whispered. Beatrice looked up, tears streaming down her face. I didn't disappear to punish you, she said. I left because I realized I had already taken too much. She explained everything. The argument. The shame. The decision to leave and clear her daughter's life of control. The collapse near the bus station. How Sienna had helped her, brought her to the lake house, cared for her when no one else was there. You saved her, Beatrice said to Altha. Without knowing it. Altha fell to her knees, sobbing, years of resentment breaking apart in one moment of clarity. I forgive you, she whispered. And I forgive you, Beatrice replied. They returned home together. Sienna stayed. The house filled with life again. Altha stepped back from work. Learn to rest. Learn to live. Some kindness moves forward. Some kindness comes back. And sometimes, the help you give a stranger is the very thing that saves the person you love most. If this story touched you, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that compassion still matters. And tell us in the comments, do you believe kindness always finds its way home?